The Treylon Burks hype train is here again, and I'm telling you not to fall for it. I'll explain why on today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland, Titans fans. We got a big show to talk about today. We heard from Brian Callahan, the assistant coaches, Will Levis, and I'm here to tell you the Treylon Burks hype train has returned once again, but I am not getting on board. Also, both Callahans talked about the offensive line and gave some updates there, and Will Levis wants to be the next one. I'll dive into all of that. Before I do, thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. Shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. We got the schedule release happening next week. We got some roster reviews to go over as well. So much content coming your way this offseason. Again, make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. The Treylon Burks hype train, folks. Do you hear it in the background? It's making its way back in town once again. It seems like a yearly tradition now where we hype up Treylon Burks in the offseason, and then we get to the season, and it's the same old. So the Titans have added Tyler Boyd. They had a visit with Zay Jones before they signed Tyler Boyd or made the agreement with Tyler Boyd to sign. And I've been telling you all week long that no matter what Brian Callahan says in public, their interest in these other veteran wide receivers tells us, remember, it's actions, not words, where you really find out what people think and what people feel and how they're going to act. And the Titans said, what can we do here to minimize Treylon Burks and our reliance on Treylon Burks? How can we make Treylon Burks an afterthought in this offense? They go out and pay $90 million to Calvin Ridley. They go and sign Tyler Boyd as well. But of course, when they're in public, like any good coach would do, they're going to speak highly of Treylon Burks. And of course, this has led to everybody freaking out once again with the Treylon Burks hype. So here is what Brian Callahan had to say about Treylon Burks. He said, as far as Treylon's role, he's going to play everything. We've told him that from the beginning, he's going to play inside, he's going to play outside, and he's going to carve out a role for himself. I had him come up today and do the break after practice, which is where all the players gather around, and then somebody says, you know, we're the Titans, baby, kill them on three, kill them, blah, 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 stuff like that. Back to the quote. I had him come up today and do the break after practice because his work he's put in has been really impressive. Treylon, I think, ran 3,591 yards on Tuesday and then hit our team-leading top speed at 22.6 miles an hour in practice. So super impressive workload and performance. He's had a really good offseason. I'm excited about what he can bring for us. I meant when I said that the other day that he's going to have a role to play. End quote there from Brian Callahan. Tyke Tolbert, the Titans wide receiver coach, also kept the hype train going for Treylon Burks. He said he's been, quote, really impressive. You hear things in the past, but he's done everything and more. Only guy that's played all three positions so far this all season, really taking a hold. He studies at night, asks questions. He's gotten better every day. That was a paraphrased version of what Tyke Tolbert had to say. And of course, all of this is courtesy of TennesseeTitans.com. But it just adds to the same thing. Last year, we did the same exact thing. It's, oh, Treylon's had a great offseason. Treylon looks fantastic. He's ready to take that next step. He's in his playbook. He's doing all the right things. He's getting better every day. He's going to have a huge role here. But it's just the same thing over and over again. It's Groundhog's Day, folks. And I get it. We are fans of the Tennessee Titans. If you're listening to this, you are most likely a fan of the Tennessee Titans. Not only a fan, but a fanatic. And we have to remember that fan is the short version of fanatic, because to have the ability to buy into the Treylon Burks hype once again. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how you set yourselves up for disappointment all the time. Like, how can we do this if somebody consistently does one thing, expecting them to do something different and being disappointed when that happens, that is on you. This is not just a football thing with Treylon Burks. This is about expectations in life. A lot of you guys lie to yourselves about who you want these people to be. And when they aren't that, you're mad, you're disappointed, you're frustrated. Well, that person has never showed you in their entire existence that they are going to be something different. And that is how I feel about Treylon Burks, okay? It's like your druggy cousin who tells you at Thanksgiving, I'm going clean, guys. I find the book. And then a couple months later, they're not. And it's your decision if you want to be mad at that person. If you want to be mad at them, then go ahead. But your expectations should have been different. You should know better than to buy into the hype from people who have not proven anything to you. That is like, how can you be sold so easily? How can you be manipulated so easily? Of course, the coaching staff is going to praise the player. Any good coach, peewee, pro, doesn't matter. You praise in public, you criticize in private. That is how it works. So again, if the coaches were this excited about Treylon, oh, he had this heavy workload, he did these things, he's played all three positions, he's been impressive, then they wouldn't have felt the need to give $90 million to Calvin Ridley, and they wouldn't have felt the need to go out and sign Tyler Boyd and have a visit with Zay Jones and draft Jaquan Jackson. Like, again, the math ain't mathin', all right? The words don't match the actions, okay? And in your life as a human being who has experienced life, what is a bigger teller, actions or words? What do you trust more? So to me, it's like, yeah, we're really happy with Treylon. He's going to be great. He's going to have a role. He's doing all these things in practice. He's in his playbook. He's studying. It was the same thing last year. So look, if you want to get hype about Treylon, if you want to get on the Treylon Burks hype train, you want to buy a ticket once again, then you go ahead and do that. But if you're somebody who is buying the hype again, do not be in my comments. Do not be upset online. Do not be mad at Treylon Burks when he does the same thing that he's always done, which is disappoint. You are not allowed to be mad if you're foolish enough to buy the hype once again. As a Titans fan, would I be happy if Treylon Burks blew up this year and finally became the first-round wide receiver that he was supposed to be? Sure. But right now what Treylon Burks is, he's a guy who has less catches and yards than the Titans' third-round running back they drafted a year after him. So if you're buying into the hype again, you are not allowed to be mad when he disappoints you, because it's your fault for buying into the hype and getting on that hype train for one more again. All right? Crazy to me, the reaction I'm seeing, people letting these comments and these quotes get them back on the Treylon Burks hype train. Like, do you guys ever learn? Yeah, I mean, like, man, it's crazy to me. But either way, we got more comments to talk about. Bill Callahan and Brian Callahan talked about right tackle, talked about JC Latham, and Will Levis thinks he's the next one. So excited to talk about that. Before we do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Yahoo Finance. All right, wouldn't it be great if you could see all of your investment and retirement accounts in one place? With Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the analysis that you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. For example, if you have an investment account with Schwab and a 401k with Fidelity, if you're using Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate the information from both of those all into one place. It makes it incredibly easy to manage all of them. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or you're looking for that extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. They are the #1 finance destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analysis ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. With a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com, the #1 financial destination. That's yahoofinance.com, yahoofinance.com. Also want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience, the winning formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your #1 ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, breaking down the comments from Brian Callahan, from Bill Callahan, Tyke Tolbert, Tracy Rocker. A bunch of assistant coaches spoke on Thursday. We heard from Will Levis as well. I'm going to talk about what Bill Callahan had to say about JC Latham, the right tackle position, what Tracy Rocker had to say about T'Vondre Sweat, and then what Will Levis had to say about himself at the end of the show. Before I dive into all of it, do want to thank you guys again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. But Bill Callahan talked about JC Latham and switching from left tackle to right tackle. All right. From right tackle to left tackle. Obviously, something that everyone's concerned about. It's one of the biggest X factors of the entire season. Can Latham actually do that? Well, Bill Callahan laid out why he can do it. And he said this, quote, #1, his athleticism. And then, of course, all of the measurable traits that he has. And then you add in size, power, strength, and it adds up to making that move. I think if you have the athleticism and you have the strength and you have the muscle memory to change some skill sets, I think it's doable. And he was asked flat out whether he has doubts about whether Latham can make that switch. And he just said bluntly, quote, "I don't," end quote. He mentioned guys like Tyron Smith, who he flipped from right tackle to left tackle with the Dallas Cowboys. He mentioned flipping Jedrick Wills from right tackle to left tackle with the Cleveland Browns. So he seems confident in his ability to do it. And not only that, but he's confident in JC Latham's ability to make that switch. And that's something that we heard from JC Latham when he was drafted. He said that Bill Callahan told him that he thought he could make the move from right tackle back over to left tackle. And again, it's not like JC Latham has never played at left tackle. He became one of the best recruits in the entire country and was a left tackle at one of the best high schools in the entire world for American football, of course. So, I guess while it's fair to have our doubts, to me, Bill Callahan has a resume that he can point to and say, hey, I've done this before. Also, you can look at JC Latham's resume and be like, hey, he's done this before. You know, switching from left tackle to right tackle, going from high school to college can't be easy either. But he had the ability to do it. So that gives me even more confidence that he can flip back from right tackle to left tackle because he's done a position change, a side change like that, and he's got the experience, and Bill Callahan believes in it. So I'm all aboard on that. Bill Callahan also talked about the right tackle position, and obviously the Titans haven't added anybody of note at that spot. So Bill Callahan talked about the players who are at right tackle, and he said they're all here. They're all working hard. He's just evaluating everything. He said they're all exceptional hard workers. But this is the real point. He said basically, like, I'm going to be reserved with my judgment of who can play right tackle and who can start at right tackle until we get into training camp, until preseason games. He said until the bullets start to fly. So we shouldn't be surprised by that reaction. I would have been more shocked if Bill Callahan would have went up there and said, Nicholas Petit-Frere is our starting right tackle. Blah, blah, blah. Like, at this point, it's a competition between a bunch of young guys. You got NPF, of course, as I just mentioned. Jalen Duncan could be a guy who gets the opportunity. They did trade for Leroy Watson, and Bill Callahan talked about Leroy Watson and talked about how he had exceptional traits and great athleticism and kind of checks all the boxes of what they're looking for. He talked about that. So obviously they feel that Leroy Watson can come in and compete as well. So I don't think it would be an absolute shocker to see Leroy Watson as the guy who ultimately ends up starting at right tackle. I wouldn't be shocked by that. And Brian Callahan talked about it. He said, we got young players who are ascending at right tackle. They have the traits, they have the talent to be starting offensive linemen in the NFL. And he said, we're going to go with the best 5. All right, we're going to go with the best 5. And that's a common thing that a lot of coaches say at the NFL level. But I think it confirms what we already believed. At this point, they're going to roll with the young players on the roster and see if Bill Callahan can coach up one of those tackles to take that right tackle spot. And it also confirms that, yes, they are planning on moving JC Latham to left tackle, and everyone in the building has confidence that Latham can make that switch. So 2 things that we basically already believed or had heard before, just confirmed again by some of these interviews. Also want to mention Tracy Rocker, the Titans defensive line coach, talked about T'Vondre Sweat. And obviously, a lot of you guys thought I was making it up as a concern, or it just wasn't as big of a concern as I was making it. But the first thing that Tracy Rocker is asked about when getting availability is T'Vondre Sweat's weight. And he said this, quote, we have things in place to help him drop weight. It ain't easy. I'm a big man. I got a big son. Part of growing, get him going in the right direction. Positive way instead of a negative way. He could be a special player, though, is what he said. So, all right. And then he added on, we've all been 22, 23. We all know what we did. So, it's what we do with the weight. It's an ongoing process. And he added again, it won't be easy. I mean, I don't know how you didn't know about the weight concerns and the conditioning concerns. Clearly, you did zero research if you weren't aware that there were concerns about conditioning and weight with T'Vondre Sweat. It's literally on every single scouting report that you can find from a reputable source. Conditioning, reps, weight. But Titans fans acted like I made that up out of thin air. I don't know, whatever. But now, literally, the only things that Tracy Rocker is talking about with Sweat is, hey, we got to get him going in the right direction, a positive way instead of a negative way. It's not going to, with the weight, it's an ongoing process. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. I don't know. This kind of stuff, the call that he got from Ran Carthon when he got drafted, like, it all just kind of confirms my worries here. So I hope that they do have a good plan, and I hope that they stay on him and maybe even put a weight clause in his contract, which is something that you see commonly in the NFL. But whatever it takes to motivate this dude and to get him out of partying off the field, that's what they have to do, or it's going to be a problem, So hopefully there is a good plan in place. That's what they say. But these quotes, again, just make me concerned. All right, but now we got to talk about Will Levis because I don't have any concerns there. Before we do, though, I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, whether it's big or small. Certain things can really start to get to you, and it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life, because we all know it can be kind of tough to have certain conversations with people who are present in your life. So today, I want to say a few things about how I really feel, and you might even be thinking the same thing. Again, the Treylon Burks hype, blowing my mind. The lack of concern about T'Vondre Sweat from some of you, blowing my mind. But here's the reality, all right? Therapy can be different for everyone, and most of us have bigger problems than what's going on with our favorite sports team. But it's still important to get those things off your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking of starting therapy, you have to give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be flexible. It's suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about the Treylon Burks hype train returning once again. We talked about the Callahans talking about the offensive line. Now I want to talk about Will Levis because he had some interesting things to say on Thursday that I thought definitely stood out to me, but other people had some interesting things to say about him. Before I dive into the Will Levis comments, do want to thank you again for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Definitely do appreciate my everydayers tuning in Monday through Friday. If we aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. Even throughout the summer, Monday through Friday, free Titans content coming your way. You won't beat that anywhere else. Where people start to take breaks is when I work even harder. So throw a thumbs up on the video as well if you're watching on YouTube. Definitely helps out the channel, and I appreciate it as well. But Brian Callahan talked about Will Levis first, and I want to go over this quote again from TennesseeTitans.com. Says, quote, "He's been great. Really, really happy with the work he's putting in, what he's learned. There's a lot of information coming at him, a lot of technical things, a lot of mental things, a lot of physical things as far as fundamentals, techniques, how we teach, what we teach. He's attacked it with awesome enthusiasm. He's excited about what's around him, the players that are on our team, the players we've added. I think he's optimistic about how he can perform and the jump he can make from his first year to his second year, which you see a lot of players in the league. He's got a little taste of action last year, played some, did some good things, did some things he needs to improve on, but ultimately he has enough experience to draw back on it and really make the jump in the improvements in the areas that he needs to as a full-time starting quarterback." Oh, that gets you excited. That gets you excited. I'm glad that Will Levis has been impressive out there. Of course, again, like I mentioned with Treylon, only going to be praise, but with what we saw from Levis and what we know about Levis, it's just a lot more believable praise, I guess, is what I would say. Levis spoke himself, and he talked about how the offense that Brian Callahan is bringing here is as similar to his first year at Kentucky as anything he's experienced. So Will Levis's best college year as a quarterback was his first year at Kentucky, 2021. He had Wendell Robinson. He had some good players on the offensive line. He had a better team around him. He had better play calling. Liam Cohen was there, who was a former Sean McVay guy who went back to Kentucky eventually. But that first year at Kentucky is why Will Levis got drafted where he got drafted. Not his second year, which wasn't good, and he played through injury, and that's why he went in the second round. You know what I mean? That's why he dropped, okay? But that first year at Kentucky was impressive. And for Levis to say that this offense is similar to his first year at Kentucky, that has to get you excited. That's only a good sign. It's what he was comfortable in. It's what he played his best football in ever. So I love hearing that personally. Also, one nugget that Will Levis pointed out here is him and Brian Callahan sat down and watched film. They watched Burrow. They watched Stafford. They even watched some Peyton Manning, guys who Brian Callahan had worked with before. Will Levis said, "I want to be the next one." The next one. In a really great line. Of course, I mean, Peyton is one of the all-time best. Stafford has been one of the top 10 quarterbacks for the last 10 years. Joe Burrow is, in my opinion, one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL when healthy. So if Levis can be on that line, like a lot of people say that the best version of Will Levis is Matt Stafford. Like, that is the kind of player that he could be like. I see some Brett Favre. I've been thinking about it a lot, and Levis just has Brett Favre to me. The way he plays the game, his excitement, the arm strength, like the velocity on the throws. I see Brett Favre, okay? Like, I think at his absolute best, Will Levis could be Brett Favre. Like, that kind of player, that good. You know what I mean? And that's lofty comparisons, but that's the skill set. All right. And Brett Favre was even a little rocky coming in. I mean, he had his own issues. Levis doesn't have those issues, but still, it makes me sad that Brett Favre is a crap person, though, because he was what made me love football in the first place as a 5-6-year-old kid. But, don't meet your heroes, kids, as they say. But anyway, I really liked that comment, knowing that, hey, he's worked with a lot of great quarterbacks before. I can be the next one that people say when they talk about Brian Callahan's lineage. You know what I mean? He also mentioned two things that I want to talk about real quick that, look, Levis wasn't trying to. Maybe he was. Okay, maybe he was, but I don't think he was. I'm sure he wasn't trying to crap on Mike Vrabel. I'm sure he wasn't trying to take shots at Mike Vrabel. But he said, we're going to pass more. There are situations where we're going to throw the ball more. I mean, he's literally saying, hey, I'm excited that we're going to throw the ball more often. He said there are drop back passing situations that we wouldn't have had last year. So remember when Mike Vrabel said, we don't want to be a drop back passing team, or we don't have a drop back passing game, stuff like that. Well, that's because you're not coaching properly, not because you don't have the talent to do it. Okay. That if you could coach properly, you could have a drop back passing game, even with a bad offensive line and bad receivers. Get the ball out quick, run quick game, incorporate more West Coast offense. But no, they just wanted to run the ball into the offensive line over and over and over again and tell us that they don't have enough talent to do other things. Well, then you're not creative enough as a coach, especially on offense. But we knew that, right? So I loved hearing that. And again, I don't think that Will is intending to take shots at the old coaching staff, but, it's pretty definitive there. And then he also said that guys are more open to speaking up and speaking their mind. Why would the environment be more comfortable and players feel more comfortable to speak their mind and speak up and be themselves? Again, I don't think that Levis is intending to take shots at the previous coaching staff, but that's what it is at the end of the day. That is what it is. And you hate to say, if I'm praising this person, it doesn't mean that I'm cutting down this person. But at the end of the day, if you're praising differences in this year's coaching staff, then you are also admitting you did not like how those things were different under the previous coaching staff. So I found those couple of quotes about passing the ball more, drop back passing game, and then people being more open to speak their mind. I found those very illuminating as comments from Will Levis. So do want to say one more thing. We've talked about it so much, but Brian Callahan did say they were still interested in free agent edges and free agent safeties. Again, I've said I want Justin Simmons, but I think Marcus May is more likely because of the Denard Wilson connection with the Jets. As for edges, I think a Bud Dupree reunion makes a ton of sense at a veteran minimum, but I don't think Bud Dupree enjoyed his time in Tennessee, so I don't think that's going to happen. But Carl Lawson, Emmanuel Ogbah, those are options that are out there as well. And Brian Callahan did say that he expected those things to be, wrapped up rather quickly. So they're going to have, OTAs and stuff starting soon. If you're going to have guys on the team, you need to get them in here as soon as possible. But with that being said, that's going to do it for me. That's going to do it for this week. Can't wait to talk to you guys on Sunday night into Monday morning for the start of next week's episodes. But as always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.